Hello, Justice Warriors. Check. How's my sound? How's my lighting? How are you? More importantly, how's everybody doing? Is the sound all right? And is there anybody here that can let me know? I'll give it a minute. I just wanted to come on because it's been a long time, huh? It's been too many days. And look at my cool necklaces. The only problem is too many intersections, right? And then trying to straighten it out. There we go. Anyway, yeah, lots of cool necklaces. Only 3. It just looks like more because of the crisscross applesauce on the neckline to top it off. But you know, I just had to. I don't know. The spirit moved me. So you guys, it's so hard to think or talk about anything except the freaking fires in California. Not just because I used to live there, but because I have a dear friend that still lives there that did have to evacuate. It's just heartbreaking, and it is so creepy. Do you know what I learned? Tell me if you guys have heard anything different. If you want to Google it and fact check me, please do. And I'll start with all my regular stuff. Anyway, I learned that since May in Los Angeles County, there's been 0.14 inches of rain. Valerie, have you heard that? Since May, 0.14 inches of rain. If you want to fact check me, please do, because it's unreal. And I'm just like, I must have misheard it or something. I don't know. Maybe I should fact check myself just to be sure. How are you, my dear? Yeah, it is so crazy. I'm just going to do that. Let's see. Rain in LA since May of 2024. See what this will tell me. A 1/5 of an inch of rain downtown since, wow, a 1/5 of an inch of rain. So that's 0.2, right? I said 0.14 was what I read. So not much difference, but actually when you're dealing with that kind of scarcity, it is kind of a huge difference because that's almost twice as much, but that's still like nothing. Absolutely nothing. That is so freaking crazy. San Diego is 0.1. Riverside is 0.1. Los Angeles is 0.2. And that says between October 1st and January 6th. Wow. Average rainfall by this time for Los Angeles would be 4.5 inches of rain. For San Diego, it would be about 3.5 inches of rain. And for Riverside, it would be just under 3 inches of rain. So that's good to keep in mind also. And Santa Maria, was that one of the others that no, I didn't say anything about that. I'll leave that out since that's enough numbers, right? That I did not hear. Valerie, isn't that crazy? I'm so glad that I fact checked myself, because even though I know that that's what I saw, it just still is unbelievable. I know the winds are coming back. The winds have not stopped. So I've kept a pretty close eye on all of it. And at this point in time, they're saying that the winds are going to keep up until Wednesday. And these particular winds and fires that caused the Palisades to burn started a week ago tomorrow. So it's pretty unheard of to, I just can't. I don't want to get into any freaking conspiracy theories because it would be so easy to go there. with the land grab, with the smart cities, with the weather control, with all of it. I mean, so easy to go there. And yet, it is the way that part of our land is designed. It's been that way for my whole life. And it's a dry time. So, yeah, Valerie says no. I don't know what you said no about, but are you saying no, like don't go there? Because I respect that. Yeah, I mean there's no need. I know a lot of channels are going there, and it makes me cringe. Like, sure, if there's evidence, then that's one thing. I want to know why governor and mayor did not fill up water. Well, there's controversy about that too. So I don't know all the details, but I've been listening a lot, and there's a lot of misinformation. So, like I said, I don't know. I'm not going to try to pretend that I know things that I don't. So, it is cool that they can pump the water from swimming pools to put out the fires. And I just wonder why they can't pump the water from the freaking ocean. Right? I mean, of course you can't drink salt water, but couldn't you use salt water to put out fires? That would make so much sense. So much sense. So there were some other things I wanted to talk about today. I just couldn't start without talking about that. I mean, it's just so dear to my heart. And I'm really glad that my friend is okay. Please hit your like button if you don't mind. And where's my sign? Where'd I hide it? I hid it over here. Please make sure that you're still subscribed. If you are subscribed, and if you're not, consider doing so. Share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like my channel, and turn on your notification bell to ring. And Valerie says, I feel bad for poor people right now. Right. I don't know with salt water. Yeah, it's really hard for me to contend with the idea of like a $200 million inauguration ball with this going on in Southern California. It's I can't even think about the two at once. It just is like too much of a clash. Man, it's crazy, isn't it? And even like I've seen a little bit of Brush Junkie and Hawaii Real Estate, and both of them are saying, or I think it was Hawaii Real Estate that said that LA is like Lahaina times 1,000. So I don't know. I just don't know. Yeah, I feel bad for everybody. I especially feel bad for the animals. The animals don't have any idea what's going on. And I think it's horses that will run directly into the fire. I don't know how many animals are like that, but I know a lot of the animals are going to be running from the fire. A lot of them will get rescued. A lot of them won't get rescued. Another thing that I really wonder about, like with Lahaina, they said they had 102 is the most recent count. I just looked it up a couple days ago. The number of fatalities is now officially at 102 from the Lahaina fires of 2023. And with Los Angeles, they're saying that the body count is 24 currently that they know of, but they know that there's a lot more to come. And I'm wondering with both, if things are being incinerated completely, how can they even count them? Yeah, people who live paycheck to paycheck. Absolutely, Valerie. Absolutely. It's so crazy. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about, there's a brand new Diddy lawsuit. I was watching Down the Rabbit Hole this afternoon. She's great. I've been really into her channel lately. And today she's already done like 2 lives, maybe 3 even. I'm not sure. I caught 2 of them. And the second one was about this brand new lawsuit against Diddy. And it's a 16-year-old person who's claims that she was 16 in the year 2000 when this happened in New York City. And I'll just give you a brief overview of her story in the lawsuit, but I'll put a link in the description to Down the Rabbit Hole so you can look over there. And she had the lawsuit, so she was reading it and showing it. Basically, this woman says that when she was 16 years old, she had a babysitting job around the corner from where she lived. It sounds like it was a nice part of Manhattan. And she was going over there to babysit, or maybe she was leaving. And Diddy asked her if she needed a ride, and she said no. And he kept pushing, and she kept refusing. But eventually, she got in the car, and she's regretted it ever since. And so she alleges that he violated her, and it's a lawsuit. So we'll see if that, what happens with it. There was somebody in Down the Rabbit Hole's chat that was just really fighting tooth and nail for Diddy, and like, oh, she's lying. There's no police report. There's no evidence. And it's like, in my experience, in my opinion, people are not going to file lawsuits like that when it's not true. I know that it can happen, but lawyers will get reprimanded, and they're putting their license at risk if they knowingly file a fake lawsuit. So it is an allegation until it's proven in a court of law. It's just because it's in a lawsuit doesn't make it any less of an allegation than if it's just a verbal allegation, basically. But it takes a lot of money and time to put a lawsuit together. So, of course, there's going to be people that lie about these things. There's going to be people that are just, trying to do a cash grab. But I think that for somebody in Down the Rabbit Hole's live to go straight there right away, it was like they were like a paid troll or something. And sure, there's gonna be paid trolls, absolutely. And there's been a lot more knowledge about that. Actually, paid trolls, 100%. Yeah, he is gross. Did his house burn down? I'm not sure. I've heard that it did, but I haven't had that confirmed. And I mean, his house is in a part of Hollywood. Whoa, what's the name of that area? I mean, not Hollywood. Sorry, Bel Air. A part of Bel Air, kind of where Brentwood and Bel Air, like a corner where they kind of touch, I think. And I can't remember the name of the neighborhood. It was something that I'd never heard of until somebody, some channels were talking about it a couple of months ago, if you remember. Because he has money, he thinks he can get away with it. Well, right. And they're always going to deny everything across the boards. I mean, that's just standard, absolutely standard. Deny everything unequivocally. So, the problem with that is that when they deny everything unequivocally, you're just like, okay, well, that's just standard. So we don't know what the truth is any more than the person filing the lawsuit. I mean, literally he said, she said, right? And often it is very hard to have concrete evidence. And so many defense lawyers and assailants, criminals that do that, so many of them will get away with just making it look like there's a possibility that it might have been consensual. But when you've got somebody 16 years old, that's not a possibility. There is no consent. And, that age 16 is what Jay-Z is in a lot of trouble for with that one 31 or 32-year-old man. I think his first name is Raul, who says that Jay-Z is his father and that his mother was 16 when she got knocked up by him. Also, I think that Jay-Z's wife was 16 or even younger when they first got together, and they're just constantly lying about that. And just because he married her, that doesn't make it null and void. It's still illegal to have done that. And yeah, just like with R. Kelly and Aaliyah. So it's absolutely tragic. And it's also really tragic when it's not just misogyny, but there's a racism to it also, because these women are all Black. And until real recently, it's not been an issue, right? I mean, Aaliyah, it wasn't really an issue until a couple years ago. I think it was 2022 when R. Kelly was finally convicted with a prison sentence. And I know that it wasn't technically for his abuse and mistreatment of Aaliyah, but I think that indirectly it was. That it took, what was it, like 1995? Oh goodness, I get so confused if I think of too many years. When was it that, so Beyonce's 40-ish, and she's a couple years younger than Aaliyah would be. So Aaliyah would be about 42 if Aaliyah was alive. That seems so crazy. And then if you go back 20 years, that'd make her 22. If you go back 17, another 7 years, that would make her 15. So if you go back 27 years, was it about 1997-ish? Dang, I better look it up. I'm totally... Numbers are bad to be talking about when you're not sure, huh? Okay, so they got married in 94 and divorced in 95. I was thinking it was 95, but then I was like, no, that's way too early. Man, my brain has just been melting with all the fires in Southern California. So anyway, it was the bribe, I think, that really, that he is actually serving time for bribing somebody to make a fake ID for her in Illinois. So they made a fake ID saying that she was 18 so that he could marry her. That's what I think part of the prison sentence is for. I mean, it gets so technical and so crazy, but I mean, what's important is that he is in prison. And what's tragic is that her life was lost at such a young age, such an absolutely young age. And yeah, all these guys seem to like him young. I mean, that's just part of it. Absolutely. I think he'd be like CW away forever, Chris Watts. Yeah. Okay, so Valerie, I wanted to introduce a whole new case. Because again, this is sort of an old stomping ground of mine. A day or two ago, I learned about something that happened in Puyallup, Washington, which is due east of Tacoma. It's Pierce County, and it's a little bit rural. This was in a suburban neighborhood, and I'm going to see if I can just read this thing to you so that I can try to focus a little bit. I knew I'd be a little bit discombobulated, but I had to come on. It has been 3 days since I've done a true crime live. So thank you so much for being here, Valerie. And I'll do my disclaimer real quick that everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation and open up a discussion and learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. And I'm really excited about my jewelry. So I made this one and I made this one. And again, I think I have to credit J. Crew for making that one. And the earrings, I did not make the earrings either. The earrings are super cool. Well, I made the little, I guess I kind of sort of made them. I did not paint the little piece of metal, but I did put the beads on that are above the piece of metal. And I love them because those are like my favorite, a couple of my favorite colors, kind of like a buttercream yellow and a sage green. And they're kind of square, which I love square, and a little circle above that. Are those so weird? So funny. Okay. So anyway, I did my disclaimer. I'm reading you this thing about Puyallup, Washington. So this was a family of 4 that was found deceased in a home. And the way you say the name of the town is almost like Puyallup. Puyallup. It's so funny. Puyallup, Washington. Family of 4. It's horrible. So this son unalived his parents, and him and his girlfriend were living with the parents. Hey, Annie Ruler. Oh, Valerie, I'm glad you love the jewelry, so I'm not boring you by showing you my cool jewelry. And yeah, normally I would not allow a necklace to intersect with a fabric like that, but it just kind of works. I don't know. Okay, so this is 3 days ago. Let me just read you what the Tacoma News Tribune says. It's unreal, so brace yourself. Voices for Justice with Danielle. Hello, hello. Hi, I hope you saw the video I posted on 12/29 about gobbles. Glad caught your live. I have no idea. Oh, is this the gobbles that I'm talking about? Let me see. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Danielle, but hello, it's lovely to see you. Thanks for coming in. I really like your channel, and I'll check it out. Let's see. Could you put a link to it? If I mod you up, could you put a link to that video? Do you mind doing that? And if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and do it. If you do mind, I'll undo it. So I would love it if you know how to put a link to that video that you're talking about. You should be modded up. If you make another comment, you should be blue with a blue wrench. Have you seen Nor Jasmine's new video about the water situation in LA? Fascinating. Good to be informed. I saw that she had a really interesting looking video. I did not see the video though. So I'm going to read you this article about the 4 people deceased in a South Hill home, deputies believe victims ID'd. Puyallup, I didn't know there were towns with no beer. Went to State Fair and got in trouble for drinking beer in the 90s. That's funny. Okay, the identities of 4 people who were found deceased inside a South Hill home on New Year's Eve have been released by the Pierce County Medical Examiner's Office. Brace yourself. This is really crazy. Oh, cool. You did it. You did it. Very cool. Good job. William Vosler, 68, succumbed to stab wounds to the chest and blunt head trauma near the 18,900 block of Eastwood Avenue East, the office wrote in a news release. Eileen Vosler, 66, succumbed to multiple stab wounds to the chest and neck, the release said. The manner of their deaths was listed as homicide. Shane Vosler, 33, passed from a contact gunshot wound to the head. So Shane's the son that lived with his parents. The release said that his manner of death was listed as suicide. This is so sad. Sue Bean Lee, 34, passed away from a contact gunshot wound to the head. Her manner of death was ruled as undetermined. The Voslers and Bin Lee were from the Puyallup area, the release said. The Pierce County Sheriff's Department did anticipate this was going to be a murder-suicide, red rum suicide. Sorry, I'm not supposed to say that word either. I didn't say it. Beep. Type of incident. Spokeswoman Deputy Carly Capetto told the News Tribune on Friday. The Sheriff's Department determined through evidence that Shane Vossler and his girlfriend, Bin Lee, this is where it gets really bad. Are you ready? This is a major trigger warning. That they had unalived William and Eileen during the summer. Then they conspired to commit self-unaliving closer to the end of December. Capetto said the deputies located William and Eileen Vossler's bodies in a freezer refrigerator unit on December 31st, and they were in a state of decomposition. She said it was not uncommon for William and Eileen Vossler to be seen or unheard of for a long period of time. Must have been a typo, to not be seen or heard of for a long period of time. Sorry for the dog barks. Tiny little yappy dog. They wrote that sentence all weird, but I'm just going to read it the way it should be read. She said it was not uncommon for William and Eileen Vossler to be seen or unheard of for a long period of time. So I read it the way they wrote it because it's confusing. Anyway, this is a really sad case because the mother and father, I don't think, were very active in the community and socially, Capetto said. I think they were very comfortable to the environments of their home. Evidence showed that prior to their deceasement, Shane Vossler and Bin Lee had been living in the Eastwood Avenue home for about 6 months while the parents' remains were in the freezer refrigerator unit, she said. Detectives are continuing to investigate whether Bin Lee's gunshot wound was self-inflicted. That will be determined based on the angle and direction of travel of the gunshot. And see, I'm wondering that for Matt Livelsberger with, the guy that was in the Cybertruck on New Year's Day in front of the Trump Hotel in Vegas. I'm wondering what the angle of the gunshot wound is. And yeah, they called it self-inflicted before knowing what the angle was. So that was crazy. The motive for unaliving William and Eileen Vossler is currently not known, or why their son and Bin Lee decided to keep them in the freezer. There had been 4 welfare checks at the Eastwood Avenue residence, including on December 31st when the bodies were discovered, the News Tribune previously reported. Deputies lacked sufficient legal justification to go inside during the first 3 checks. The first welfare check was on December 23rd, and then December 29th, December 30th, then the finding on the 31st, Capetto told the News Tribune via email. During the December 23rd welfare check, a neighbor told deputies she had not seen the couple that owned the home or their son since August, according to a search warrant reviewed by the News Tribune. The December 29th welfare check was prompted by a call from an online friend of one of the homeowner's sons, the story reports. The friend told deputies that the son's girlfriend made a post on social media November 12th, which stated she was considering self-unaliving with her boyfriend. A deputy attempted to make contact at the home that day, but got no answer. There was no smell, and the deputy didn't see anything to make them believe someone was deceased inside, the article said. Pierce County deputies were dispatched to the home for a welfare check on December 31st. They were able to enter the home after the son's friend helped a deputy contact another son. That son said he had not spoken to his father since September. Is that so sad? And I'll get caught up with all your comments in a second. Let me see if I can finish this up real quick. Deputies found a man and a woman deceased inside the home. 2 additional bodies were found after deputies obtained a search warrant to go through the rest of the residence, the Tribune reported. During the secondary sweep, 2 notes were found on a leaking kitchen refrigerator that read, time of deceased, July 24th, 5:45 a.m., and time of deceased, July 24th, 3 p.m., according to the story. Deputies described the house as very messy. Records state it's like the least of their worries. 2 firearms and ammunition were seized by law enforcement. Another note was found on a large refrigerator in an attached garage, the story reports. It had notes on it indicating something to the effect of date of deceasement, according to the document. The detective said it had dates on it from earlier in 2024, possibly around July. Capetto said on Friday that while she cannot confirm Shane Vossler and Ben Lee's mental health history, there's evidence this was something they both struggled with. Yeah, you think? Unbelievable. It doesn't get much crazier than this, huh? Some evidence includes notes they passed back and forth to each other and witness reports. There is no outstanding suspect to the homicides because the deaths have been contained to the home. So that's that. Horrific. Absolutely horrific. I haven't gotten a hold of my friend who lives near that neighborhood. Update on missing husband and wife. Oh, voices for Danielle. Thank you so much. You guys check out her channel and sub up if you don't mind. I'd like to make that recommendation. And yeah, I am really glad that you made that video, and I'm glad that you put the link here because I know that I've seen some things going on with that, and I've just been distracted on the cases that I've been real focused on. You know, always Kylie Rodney, always. And then, of course, the New Year's Eve situation in Hawaii, the New Year's Day situations, well, New Year's Eve morning in New Orleans, and then the thing in Vegas later in the morning. And then just the cluster, just one thing after another. Absolutely mind-boggling. My head is just spinning. So yeah, I'm very, very interested in Micah's case and keeping her case in my focus, and also other cases like the one you're talking about that are probably related, very likely related. Update on missing husband and wife, last seen at Solid Rock Church at 5:30, 2024. I do that constantly. Censor the wrong words and explicitly state the one I shouldn't. Isn't it fun? The house must have been stinky for the summer. Oops. Okay. Frozen. Yeah. That's what you call frozen shock phase, huh? I mean, going back to Dylan Mortensen from the Idaho 4, there's your frozen shock phase. Dang. Voices, you do that to make me feel normal. In Oregon, we pronounce Puyallup like Pew-all up. I think it's a tribe of Native Americans from the Pacific Northwest. Not sure. Yeah. So I lived kind of near there, you know, in Olympia for a long time, and then Kitsap County for a long time, and then north of there for a long time. And so as soon as I moved to Olympia in 1987, everybody has to make jokes about it. It's like, pull y'all up, but it's Puyallup. And yeah, I think it is a tribe. I think you're right. Thank you for that. And it is really close to Mount Rainier. So it's a pretty area. It's disgusting, isn't it? Oh, you guys, do you remember the other case? I think this was Puyallup. I'm pretty sure it was. Remember Susan Powell and her boys and the dad? He blew up the house that he lived in with the two little boys, with himself and the two little boys in it, in Puyallup. Let's see, Powell. Puyallup. I'm pretty sure that it was the same town. Let me see. Josh Powell. So it was February 5th of 2012 when he did that. And yeah, Puyallup is a small town. And yeah, the disappearance of Susan Powell is still an open case, but I mean, we know she's a goner. That's 1,000% for sure. So Josh was living in Utah with his wife and kids, and then she went missing. He says he took the two toddlers camping at midnight on a really cold night. And then I think one of the boys might have told a social worker that his mommy was where the crystals are. But they were really small when Josh did it. And when he did that to the mom, and then they were still really small when he did it to them and himself. So she went missing in 2009. And then this is ABC. Let me just see how old these little toddlers were when he did this. What a disgusting freak. So they were 5 and 7 in 2012 when he blew up the house with them in it. He also attacked them with a hatchet at the same time. And it was a social worker that was calling law enforcement because she knew something was wrong, and it was just a freaking nightmare. Absolute nightmare. So he had scheduled visitation with the kids, and she was going to pick up the kids. I don't know if they were in foster care or what, but she knew something was very, very wrong. And then I think she knocked on the door, and when he opened the door, he said to the kids, "Daddy's got a surprise." He attacked them with a hatchet. Sorry, trigger warning. Attacked them with a hatchet, simultaneously blowing up the house or something. It was insane. But to have this, both of these things happen in this small town, whoa. So Braden was 5, Charlie was 7 in 2012 when Josh, the disgusting freak, did that. But it was 2009 when the mom went missing, Susan Powell, and that would make Braden 2 and Charlie 4 when that happened to their mom. Oh, it's so, so sad. So there was a house explosion. And then Susan Powell's parents sued the state of Washington, which it says that the lawsuit was thrown out in 2015, but appealed and revived in 2019. Oh, how awful. And then Susan Powell's sister, "We've been robbed of 3 precious lives." Oh, man. Yeah. Chris Powell reminds me a lot of Chris Watts. I don't even like to say his name. It just makes me want to gag. Josh Powell reminds me a lot of Chris Watts. Ugh. Anyway, real quick, I'm going to Google the size of Puyallup, population of Puyallup, because I know it's small. I'm going to guess 10, maybe 20,000. Will it say here? No, it doesn't say there. Sorry, you can hear my sick kid in the background. She's doing better. Today was the first time she went to school in a week. So that's good. Oh, 42,000 in 2023. It must have grown a lot since I lived in that state. Yeah, it was about, well, when I first moved there, it was about 20,000 in the late 80s. So since then, it's like doubled in size. But they still consider themselves a small town. So that's a lot, even for a big city, to have those types of a quadruple unaliving and a triple unaliving. People don't realize how rare even a double unaliving is, even in a big city. So, um, you know, unalivings usually happen individually. They don't normally happen in pairs or triplets or quadruples or more than that. So let's see. Let me get caught up with you guys. We got Sub Rosa in the house. Oh, you know what? When I read your comment, Sub Rosa, I didn't even realize that was you about how you pronounce Puyallup. See my eyes. Wow, surprised they took so long to go in. Well, I mean, they did their due diligence. They were talking to neighbors and such. But yeah, it doesn't sound like the couple was deceased for that long. But sad that that the brother has a sibling that's still alive that lost the parents and the brother. I mean, imagine just the roller coaster of emotions to both be probably mourning your brother and also cursing your brother, right? Really, really sad. September, their son was a bit off if they passed in August. Well, they might have passed in July, I thought was what it said on the sticky notes. And then the couple in their 30s, it sounds like they probably passed either the end of November or maybe even December. But because why wouldn't it have smelled awful in there if two of them were not in the freezer and decompensating? Olympia is a cool city. It is a cool city. When I moved there in 1987, it was not cool at all. It really wasn't. But I liked it. But it was the state capital, still is, of course. And it was just really weird to have a state capital that was at the time such a tiny, tiny city. Again, it's grown a lot too. So it's gotten a lot fancier. It was not even a little bit fancy when I moved there in 87. I lived there from 87 until 92 and then, or 93. And then 93 moved to Portland, Oregon for a year, and then San Francisco for 2 years, and then back up to Washington State. So lots of bouncing around on the West Coast. But yeah, the Pacific Northwest is gorgeous. I loved it. I love the West Coast, but I love Ohio. I love DC too. I mean, I love everywhere that I've lived. So, I mean, there's always good things and downsides about everything. I'm so glad to not live in the fire ravaged Los Angeles now. I mean, I haven't lived there since the early 80s, the late 70s. And I've visited a couple of times, but I haven't visited since about 25 years. But yeah, I mean, I love LA and I love that J. Paul Getty Museum that I've told you guys about. And I don't think it's burned down. I know the fire's gotten close to it. Let's see. I hope that it doesn't get burned down. That would be crazy. The Susan Powell case is wild. The dude's dad and his love songs, literally, I know, Sub Rosa, his dad is horrifying for anybody who is not familiar with the case. His father was a total perv and had a huge crush on his daughter-in-law, and had conjured up in his imagination that the feelings were mutual. Absolutely disgusting. I can guarantee you that they were not mutual. That was a horrible event, and with the boys and the CPS visit, perverted father-in-law. Yep, Granny Annie. I need to jump off for a minute, but I'll be back. Yay. We'll look forward to having you back. Sandra Langford. Hey, Jazz. I have been listening on my TV. I just can't figure out how to chat. So I jumped on my phone to say hey to you and the chat. Well, thank you for watching, and thanks for saying hi. It's lovely to see you and see your chat. So yeah, we've got 9 in the house. We got 4 likes. If anybody can hit the like button that hasn't yet, that would be much appreciated. I really was just coming on because I missed you guys so much. Like I said, I was feeling kind of scattered and not so focused, but wanted just to touch base and talk about the fires a little bit, talk about that thing with Puyallup. Let's see. I've got my 2 notebooks. Let's see if there was anything else. And that breaking new Diddy lawsuit, like I said, I'll put the link in the description to the Down the Rabbit Hole channel. So yeah, the fires are such a huge distraction, and I know that there's been at least 4. I'm pretty sure last I checked, it was at least 4 people arrested for arson in relationship to the Los Angeles fires. I don't know if there's anything connecting these people. I don't know if it could be like a terrorist attack or something like that. I don't know. Like I said, I don't really want to speculate on those types of conspiracies, but it's just tragic that people are setting fires willingly and knowingly. And if it's due to their mental health, man, it just doesn't get any worse than that. I mean, being criminally insane and a danger to self and a danger to others all at the same time. Let's see. Like button activated. All the DNA at Diddy's place burned up. So you know that everything you're typing in, Granny Annie, is going twice, just to let you know. It's funny. Oh wait, no, but that only went once. My son says drones are being used to put out fires, but is it people setting them? So I've heard that a lot of the fires have started at trailheads and for hiking trailheads, like in parks. So that would lead you to believe that there is some type of coordinated effort if they're starting in different places, but basically the same way. Yeah. Did Diddy's place burn down, Granny Annie? Do you know? Does Google know? Because if his place burned down, I know people were speculating that that would be a lot of evidence, huh? I think this is going to tell me that it's just rumor. His LA mansion stands untouched as flames rip through the surrounding area. It's called Holmby Hills, HOLMBY. a few miles east of Beverly Hills, sits just outside of the Palisades fire path, but his house has not been damaged by the disaster. So that was a day ago. Holmby Hills. All right. Good to know. My son is a videographer, says he is sending me scoop, but not bad. He usually has alien videos in Burbank. Are you serious, Granny Annie? I don't know if you saw the video where I shared about my alien abduction. No, I'm just kidding. I wasn't abducted, but potentially alien flight vessel in Tuna Canyon. So not too far from the Palisades fires. Tuna Canyon is right next to Topanga Canyon. And this was back in the 80s, about 1980, maybe 1979, right in there, 79, 80, when I saw what I believe is an unidentified flying object. It wasn't flying at first. When we saw it, we were driving up to the top of the canyon to go to our friend's house. Her mom was driving the car. It was just a weeknight, and we were having a sleepover on a weeknight because we was bad like that. And when we got to where this vessel was hovering over the cliff, we stopped and just were, in complete disbelief. The thing looked like a skyscraper. It was very tall, and it wasn't like a flying saucer. It was like a flying office building is the best way to describe it. And for years I told myself that it was probably the Russians and that it wasn't from outer space. But now that so many years have passed, and I would think that if the Russians were doing something like that, we would know by now. I'm convinced that it could very well be an intergalactic thing. But anyway, it was really tall, not that wide, maybe 30 feet maximum in width, and very, very tall, like well over 100 feet. And then it was hovering over the earth, probably like 5 feet, 8 feet over the earth. And there were a lot of lights. It reminded me so much of a skyscraper. So there were blue and red and yellow and white lights. And again, ballpark, probably like 150 lights. And then we raced down to the house to get the big sister and the dad to see it. And on our way to the house, we could see it like shooting out straight over the ocean and turning out all the lights. By the time we got to the house and the dad and the sister could see it, it looked like it was about a mile or two out over the ocean. And it was just 3 lights, just one in the middle and 2 on either side. And I want to say that all 3 of those lights were probably yellow or white. So the other like red and blue lights weren't there anymore. But even just seeing 3 lights and seeing it from that distance, the dad and the sister were convinced that it was an unidentified flying object. But like I said, none of us were jumping to the conclusion that it was from a different planet. We were thinking Russian spies because, it was back then. And, like maybe China. But yeah, I'm glad that I recounted that story. So anyway, that was Tuna Canyon next to Topanga Canyon, which is by Pacific Palisades. And yeah, I've just been doing a lot of reflecting on my experiences in Pacific Palisades because I didn't go there often. And the only times that I went there was with one friend in particular And that friend of mine had a very tragic ending to her life in the late 80s. And I've just been thinking about her a lot because she had ballet classes that she went to in Pacific Palisades, and I would go with her sometimes. And then there was this cute little boutique that we would go into, probably had like Hello Kitty stuff. And then, yeah, my dear friend who took her own life when she was like 19. This is a tragic, tragic story. But anyway, like the other night, I was like, why do I keep thinking about her? Why am I thinking about her incessantly? And then I was like, oh, because Pacific Palisades. So yeah, I guess you can say I've been like PTSDing, right? So sad. So very, very sad. National Geographic and Travel Channel buy his videos. I guess he is shopping before sharing. Yeah, yeah, that's very cool. National Geographic is excellent. That's like primo. I'm sure Travel Channel is too. But so I'm imagining that you're serious about the alien videos in Burbank, but I don't know. I never know with you, Annie. You're so funny. So yeah, the thing with that sighting in like 1979, 1980, it was something that I never shared with people because I thought people would think I was insane. But then when I started sharing this story, I would just tell it the way I told you guys. It's like I was not thinking that it was aliens from another planet. It took probably, I don't know, 20 or 30 years before I even thought that was a possibility. And then was it Independence Day? Was that the movie that had a lot of stuff that reminded me of what I saw in Tuna Canyon that day? I think it was Independence Day. And that was the first time I'd ever seen anything in a movie or on TV that looked like what I saw, as opposed to, things like E.T. and all the rest of it. So yeah, it makes me wonder if I had not seen that with my own eyes, I might not even entertain the idea of alien beings from other planets. And I don't know that unidentified flying object, I don't know if it was from another planet or if it was from this planet. Like I said, at the time and for a couple of decades, I always assumed that it was from this planet. But I've opened up my mind to know that I don't know. I don't know if it is or was or what. So, yep, I'm that crazy person. I like being honest with you guys. It's hard. It's hard because on YouTube, people are going to label you and pigeonhole you as the conspiracy theorist. So it is what it is. I've seen lights on the coast near Nedlam, Oregon. The lights seem to come out of the ocean and they zipped through the dense woods somehow. It was wild. That is wild, Sub Rosa. When was that? That is pretty cool. And see, the thing about the location of Tuna Canyon back then in 79, 1980, it's still pretty undeveloped. But back then it was almost completely undeveloped. The friends that I had that had a house up there, there were very, very few houses up there. Robin Williams had a house up there. And I had another friend that had a house up there at Tuna Canyon. But most of the houses were Topanga Canyon. So this was like, you had to go even further. And yeah, it was a huge hike to go anywhere, to drive up and down the canyon, to go to the grocery store or to school or whatever. I mean, it was probably, I don't know, a half-hour ride from Pacific Coast Highway up to the house in Tuna Canyon. I'm just guessing a half-hour ride. I know most of the canyons were like that. I mean, I had a friend who lived up Big Rock Canyon, and that was quite a hike. like Las Flores Canyon and Carbon Mesa. Yeah, quite a hike. But unless you were going to try to live on the water, which was really expensive and really dangerous, and all those houses on the water are gone. I've seen videotape footage of that. Like all the beachfront properties are just gone. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. So 20 years ago, Sub Rosa says, I don't even know how to say that word. Nehalem is next to Manzantia, like between Tillamook and Seaside. So I know Tillamook and I know Seaside. And yeah. Arcata. Is Arcata Washington? Like that's the cute little town where they filmed Kindergarten Cop, I think. But yeah, did I say it right? Manzanita. Okay, I said Manzanita right, and then Nehalem. That's a tough one. Because yeah, Tillamook is just due west of Portland, and then Seaside is probably a little bit south of that, right? Maybe it's another country, but pandemic, he had little lights like fireflies, green and blue lights backed up to power poles, recharge, and seemed to hide in the palm trees in Burbank. Lockdown dark. That's just plain crazy talk, Granny Annie. Now I know you're insane. Get the straight jacket. Call the guys in the white lab coats, right? That is wild. It's a tough word. Yeah. Yeah. Oregon coast is beautiful. I love the Oregon coast, but so rough. You have to be of a certain personality type to be able to survive that. I mean, it's just so remote and so brutal. I mean, I thought that I was the kind of person that would be like my ideal homeland, but I've never tried it. I don't think I could. Yeah, I like to be connected to, I don't want to be off grid. I'm not the off grid type. And yeah, you kind of have to be the off grid type to live on the Oregon coast. That's a good way to describe it, huh? My friend's Pacific Coast Highway oceanfront house to the ground. My son was packed, wind died, and he was okay in Burbank. Wow. Oh, and you don't think about your freaking oceanfront house getting burnt down. You think of your oceanfront house getting like washed away in a storm. That is just crazy. Like if the thunder don't get you, the lightning will. You're just getting it from all sides. Granny Annie knows what's up. He has videos, but seriously, those channels buy his videos and copyright, but he usually will show me. Well, I wonder if they do like the catch and kill thing, if they're buying the videos, buying the copyright, and then not allowing anybody to see them because people can't handle the truth, right? I live in a small town between Portland and Salem. Okay, yeah, I know the area. And yeah, I love the small towns. I'm all about small towns. I can be to Portland in about 30 minutes. It's a lovely, clean, small town. I work here too, and you wouldn't believe how generous my employer is. Well, I went to a college in Lake Oswego, Oregon, which sounds like it's probably a little bit north of where you are. It was Malehurst College. It's not there anymore, but I did postgraduate studies there for art therapy. They had an art therapy department, and that was why I moved to Portland for the 1 year that we were there, and then moved on to a graduate school in the Bay Area, Notre Dame in Belmont, California, which is just south of San Francisco, about half an hour. I grew up in Lake Oswego. My mother went to Marylhurst. Oh, that is way cool, Sub Rosa. That is amazing. Yeah, I love that area. Such a cute little town. Such a cute little town. Yeah, we lived in the city right off of Powell. And I would go hang out at Reed College. I liked to pretend that I was a student at Reed. If people don't know about Reed College, you need to know. Reed College is wickedly cool, very, very small, very maybe pretentious, but who cares? Just brilliant kids get into Reed College, and it's a very competitive academic lifestyle, and they all have to be very active in extracurricular things too. Like, having like a 4.0 is not enough. You got to be killing it on all levels. So, Reed College was definitely beyond my level of expertise, and it was way too expensive for me too. I went to Evergreen in Olympia, and then when we were living in Portland and I was going to school at Marylhurst, I would study at the library at Reed College. And I didn't like pretend that I went there, but I figured that it was such a small school that everybody probably knew I wasn't the student. They all probably knew each other, and they're like, "Who's that weirdo? She must be from Marylhurst or something. She looks kind of old," because I was like 26 or something at the time, which would be a little bit old for an undergraduate liberal arts school like Marylhurst, or I mean, like Reed. And man, the neighborhood around Reed College, I like to take walks around there too and just check out all the cool architecture. Portland has some really nice architecture. Portland has an interesting history. I won't get into it, even though I've just been kind of rambling and it's been about an hour. I could ramble on about Portland for another hour. Like Ladd's Addition, Sub Rosa, Ladd's Addition, that part of the city. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's see. Small world, friend. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Reed College is a hip place, just like Olympia. Man, Reed College is so much better than Evergreen State College, in my humble opinion. I've seen a lot of colleges, and there's nothing like Reed. Oh man, it's almost like a tiny Harvard on the West Coast, right? I mean, it's of the caliber of like Princeton, Yale, and Harvard. Totally, absolutely. And yes, I have a friend who lives in Ladd's Addition. Yeah, you have to be pretty filthy rich to live in Ladd's Addition these days, huh? I haven't seen a UFO, I think, nor a Sasquatch, but I would still be looking for it when I'm outside alone or in the woods. I have respect that God has a good sense of humor, but let me see it. Sandra, I am so glad you brought up Sasquatch. So, my husband was a biologist when I met him. And when we lived in Portland, he got a job offer for a research company that was working on the Sasquatch project in over there in Eastern Oregon. And I was just like, honey, you got to think about this real carefully, because this is the kind of job on your resume. It can either make or break your career, depending on the outcome. So he didn't take the job, but he was tempted. He was really tempted. So it was a real research company that was looking for Sasquatch in Eastern Oregon. So freaking wild. Voices for Justice with Danielle is back. I didn't think I was smart enough to get into the best Southwest program, so I did online and then applied at Simon's and got in, but wouldn't transfer all my credit, so I wouldn't have enough to finish. I'm not familiar with SW programs. Oh, social work? Is that what you meant? Social work programs? And Simon's, I'm not familiar with. Yeah, social work. Okay, cool. Yeah, I know Smith College is big for their social work program, and that's probably like in New Hampshire or Massachusetts. Smith College is probably Massachusetts. Um, and yeah, it used to be an all women's school, and Marylhurst used to be an all women's school. Wasn't Marylhurst like a Coventry, a nunnery or something like that? And a lot of people don't know that Monica Lewinsky went to Lewis and Clark, which is another prestigious liberal arts college in Portland. Um, and I think she was a student there when she was interning in Washington, D.C., and hooked up with the president. So just trivia. The year that I lived in Portland, Oregon was the year that Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan was going on. It was also the year of Bob Packwood, which Packwood was, I think, in Salem, Oregon, and he was like a politician who busted himself for sexually harassing everybody in his purview, and he documented it all in his journal. So he like literally busted himself for like mass sexual harassment. So that's Bob Packwood for anybody who's not familiar. So it was a bad year for Portland. Laugh it off, right? Wouldn't have enough money to finish. I have one of my son's videos on my community post, Big Discs. Oh, cool. I'll have to check it out, Granny Annie. Milhurst was an all-female college when my mom went there. And Tanya Harding makes us look so bad. Have you seen I, Tanya? Because that movie was so well done, and it really turned me around 180 degrees on my opinion of Tanya Harding. Like, she rocks. Tanya Harding rocks. Like, she had a really rough life. She had a very terrible husband. She did not make some of the best choices. I'm not going to put it all on everyone around her, but a lot of what she's kind of the scapegoat for her mother and for Jeff Gillooly and for that other goofball that Gillooly hired, the spy guy. He had an even worse name than Gillooly, didn't he? What the heck was his name? I mean, Gillooly sounds like a movie. Jeff Gillooly. And what was his sidekick? Sean Eckert. No, that's not the weird name. Gillooly is the weird name. But yeah, Sean Eckert was the guy that I was thinking of. Tanya's mob. Gillooly ultimately pled guilty to racketeering. So yeah, anyone who hasn't seen the movie I, Tanya, it's so good. It is so well done. And it just really helps you understand the poor girl's what she was born into and where she came from. And she almost got out. She's so close. I mean, and then, she, I think, was able to kind of laugh at herself when she was doing like the reality boxing stuff on television. I don't know. But it was a well done movie, and it really gives you compassion for her. Because, yeah, I had no compassion for her. I really didn't. Even though I had seen her skate in person and was extremely impressed by her athleticism and her power, I still thought she was a dirtbag. But once I saw I, Tanya, I came around. It was a lot less harsh and not judgmental at all. And yeah, I don't think she does make the area look bad. I think that she makes Jeff Gillooly look bad. She makes her mother look bad. I think she's something that Portland could be proud of, but dang, almost. So close, so close. And yeah, because she invented like the quadruple axel. She freaking invented that. Nobody was doing it when she did it. All college folk. I have a PhD, 25 years experience in post hole digging. I love that, Sandra. Yeah, I mean, real life is the best experience, in my opinion. And yeah, digging holes to put posts in, you got to be careful. You got to call before you dig so you don't hit a water line or an electrical line. I'll tell you guys a really sad story that my husband had to deal with a few months ago with his work as law enforcement. A guy, a guy's animal passed away, and so the guy was digging a grave in his front yard or backyard for the animal that passed away, and he hit an electrical line. I think it might have been a water main, but I think it was an electrical line. And so the police had to go there, and then they found out that there was a warrant for his arrest. So then he went to jail. So like he wouldn't have gone to jail for making that mistake of digging where he dug, but it was just like kind of the lemony snicket series of unfortunate events, and so sad that his pet died. So he's already dealing with that. Then he's got this crisis with electricity or whatever it was that he hit because he didn't call before digging, and then he lands his butt in jail. Like that's what you'd call a really bad day. It's sad. I shouldn't laugh, but it's like laugh or cry, right? And I'm just saying, you got to be smart if you're digging holes for posts to go into. And yeah, you got to be really careful when you're digging, period, because if you're, like how kids and people can pass away digging holes in the sand at the beach when they're having fun. But that can happen just with dirt too. You have to have what do you call those reinforcement things, braces, so that you can be in a hole. You don't want to be standing in a hole that is like it can cave in on you. And yeah, very, very dangerous. And if it does cave in on you, you can't just like climb out or pull yourself out. You need to call 911 and get specially trained people to get you out, or it can get a lot worse. A lot of people looking for Sasquatch, they obviously don't want to be bothered. She used to skate at Clackamas Town Center. That's where I saw her. Sub Rosa was at Clackamas Town Center. And I've seen her skating there too. They would give her the rink to herself, and she was amazing. So were you watching her practice back then when she was practicing for the Olympics? Because yeah, I only went to see her practice there after the controversy, but before the FBI interviewed her for 11 hours. So the heat was on, but she was still practicing. And yeah, it was really cool to watch her practice. It was super cool. And it was cool that she did it in a public place. I mean, that's a good advertisement for the mall, and it's a good advertisement for her to be building relations with her base, the people that support her. Yeah, she skated there for years before the Olympics. Yeah. Well, because wasn't she from the other side of Portland, like Beaverton? Wasn't she from like the Beaverton side of Portland? And Clackamas Town Center, I'm thinking, is east, like kind of near the airport. I don't know. It's been a million years, a gazillion years. I'll have to look it up. Anyway, maybe we can wrap up. Is there anything else we need to talk about before we do? I appreciate you guys so much. I know I'm kind of low key, low energy. Like I said, I've just been gobsmacked with all of this fire, and feeling so grateful to be in the Midwest, where all we have to contend with is like the Arctic weather. Today, it's probably down to like 15 right now. Oh, you think she lived in Clackamas County? And I know Multnomah County is the county of Portland. And then Clackamas County is probably like where Graham is. Let's see. What was I picking up my phone to look up? Now I'm forgetting. Oh, the temperature right now. 13. It's gotten down to 13, you guys. How cold is it going to get tonight? It's going to get down to 8 tonight. And then tomorrow it's going to get down to 6. And then Wednesday it's going to get down to 1. Thursday it goes back up to 10. And then it's a sweltering 24. 24, 16. Oh, Monday is 0. Tuesday's -3. I'm just reading you the lows, not the highs. So a week from tomorrow is -3. This is crazy cold. This is much, much colder than normal. I mean, it was a cold winter, even like November, December. And yeah, it usually isn't this bad until like, really early February is usually the worst part of the winter in my experience. So yeah, it's a delight to be contending with the Arctic weather when I think about what people are contending with in Los Angeles, and my heart just breaks again and again. And then just all the fighting, all the politicians fighting is just such a waste. It's like, let's just focus on helping people get it together. People need to relocate. I mean, how are people going to get school going and work going? And I mean, I'm sure that the surrounding areas that weren't hit will be able to offer a lot of support. But yeah, I love you guys. I miss you. Thank you for hanging out with me. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap her up since we're at an hour and 20 minutes. And I'm just, like I said, just feeling very, ho-hum, I guess is a good way to describe it. There's shady people doing shady things with the LA water supply. Oh no. I know the thing with the looters is awful, I mean, it's like you want to go loot your own house so that you can find any shred of an artifact that has sentimental value or just things that you can use. But for people to be ransacking other people's rubble is about as low down as it gets. Unbelievable. But yeah, there's always going to be, people can just be like vultures, and especially when there's that type of vulnerability, and people will get scammed, and there'll be domestic violence fatalities that they'll try to say, oh no, they just burned in the fire, and then it'll turn out that they have evidence that that's not what happened. I remember when the Hurricane Sandy hit, and there was a guy who tried to pretend that his wife died in Hurricane Sandy when he had been the one to unalive her. And then when COVID first came around, there was a domestic violence situation where a guy tried to say that his wife passed away from COVID, and she didn't. I mean, domestic violence, man. I mean, that's what we're dealing with that, both of those families in Puyallup, that, the one real recent current situation, and then the Powell family. I mean, domestic violence is the worst. It's the worst for kids. It's the worst for the victims. It's the worst for law enforcement. I mean, those are the worst and most dangerous calls for law enforcement. Absolutely the most dangerous calls for law enforcement. And, dangerous for anybody who gets involved. Oh, I'm wondering what's going on with that case with the Mickey, the ex-sheriff Mickey Steins, and Judge Kevin Mullins. I'm wondering what's going on with that. I'm wondering if that was a domestic violence situation with him and his wife. Because remember, we had found out that his wife had not let him sleep at home the night before he unalived the judge. And then he was saying that they were trying to kidnap his wife and daughter. And so I was like, were they trying to kidnap, or were they trying to help the wife and daughter get away from him? I don't know, but I have gotten a little bit more information. Gavin Fish is real good disseminating information about the case. What was the little tidbit that I picked up? That it could be that the judge was reporting some bad things that Mickey Steins had done, that could have been a motivation. I didn't realize that there were 8 bullets, you guys, that the sheriff fired that gun 8 times. Oh, and I also didn't realize that the sheriff or the judge was smoking. He had a cigarette in his hand when he got shot, you guys. Did you know that? When I saw it on, so it's the same footage that I've seen before, but I've just never noticed the cigarette. Surviving the Survivor. So they had Gavin Fish. I'll put a link to it in the description. That is fascinating that they allow smoking in the office there. I'm thinking at least he had his last cigarette. I mean, seriously, for people that smoke, that's a big deal, right? Let's see. It takes a gallon of water to grow 1 almond. Oh man, you got to be kidding me, Sub Rosa. I love almonds too. They're so good for you. I like to have raw almonds for a healthy snack. If anyone has friends lost jewelry in the fire, it doesn't melt. Go back. My battalion chief X and I help our friend get all hers back in Shasta County. Her mom's gifts, sentimental. But I wonder, Annie, if these fires are like the Lahaina fires, if metal is melting. I don't know, but it seems like that might be a possibility. I think the sheriff and the judge story is more than we will ever know. So the whole thing with that case is that it's bringing to light that the law enforcement in the Appalachians has been taking advantage of addicted women that are in trouble with the law for a long time. That it's pretty much a given that if you're in the Appalachians and you have a problem with addiction, that you're going to get violated and abused by the law enforcement. It's terrible, but that is a good thing that case is bringing light to that issue. And, and that's, I think, what the backdrop was with the deputy that had pled guilty, and then the sheriff was being sued for being his supervisor because he knew or should have known that was going on, and it was going on in that very judge's chambers. So they were probably all doing some horrible stuff, is my guess. That's my guess, is that, we'll see. I hope I go out with a cigarette in my hand. Have a good night, you guys. I'm going to highlight that one. That's cute. And I'll catch up the rest and then sign off. The judge is taking sex from the girls or watching videos of his deputies. Yeah, I think definitely the latter is pretty much a given, because why else would they have the surveillance camera in there? And then the other part, it's entirely probable, it sounds like, given just the landscape of that situation in the Appalachians. So hopefully women that find themselves addicted and in trouble with the law won't be getting abused like that, as if their lives aren't challenging enough already. Gavin Fish is open-minded and a good thinker, in my opinion. He seems like such a great guy. He posted a picture of, I think he has 6 kids, him and his wife. Beautiful family. I think it was on his community post. Absolutely beautiful family. Horrible. Remember Sarah Boone and how bad she needed a cigarette? I don't know nothing about Sarah Boone, and I don't know if I want to know anything about her, but you can say anything you want in the chat about it, Sub Rosa, before I sign off. I could Google her. I guess I will, just to see, because I have no idea. That's not a case I've paid attention to. I know it's one that is hideous, and so that's why I've steered clear. And it seems like a whole mountain of effery. Oh, isn't she the one with the suitcase? The boyfriend in the suitcase? Isn't that her? Scathing letter to judge. Yeah, zipping her boyfriend into a suitcase. Ha. Lahaina fires conspiracy. LOL, your turn for crazy. I saw the videos, but people call me crazy for seeing them. I know. Well, the whole Lahaina fire thing was so nuts, and now I'm wondering, how many people actually passed away in the Lahaina fires. I think it was a lot more than 102. And that was insane when they were up to 117, and then they started walking it back. It's a can of worms. You're better off not knowing. Yes, the suitcase. Okay. The Maui fires were suspicious, weren't they? Yeah, I mean, they definitely, the way they burned and the way the blue things didn't burn, that was indicative. I don't know if there's been any issues like that in the LA fires with blue stuff not burning. I do not know. It's probably just too early to tell. I mean, it's still such a crisis and such a panic. And, it's like that television show, Little Fires Everywhere, except it's like big fires everywhere. All right, you guys, I am going. Oh, the Lahaina fires, name of the weapons, can't remember. The lasers, I don't remember either. Annie Ruler, does Google remember? Google might not know because it's just a conspiracy theory, right? Let's see. I'm just typing in Lahaina fire weapons. Oh, direct energy weapon. Yeah, Google does know. The DEW, the do. Yes, Sub Rosa, do the do. Yeah, I don't know if there's any evidence of anything like that in LA. It would be horrible, absolutely horrible. But yeah, it certainly seemed like there was a lot of evidence of that in Lahaina. So, oh man. All right. Love and light, you guys. Have a good night. Take care of yourselves. Drink your water. Eat your protein. Eat your fruits and veggies. I remind you all the time because I have to remind me. And yeah, I love my necklaces. I kind of feel like an Egyptian or something. The necklaces, the earrings, the rings. I got it all on today. I got lots of beads, 3 beaded bracelets. Nothing else is really beaded. I had a beaded necklace on earlier that I took off because it was just one too many. I was going to do 4, but then, less is more, especially when you got the crisscross going on. All right. Love and light. See you on the next one. Thanks so much for watching and hope that you have a great night. Take care.